All right, we are live.
Thank you. I think we'll go ahead and get started. My computer shows 10:30. Welcome, everybody, to the December Basque virtual meeting. We'll get started first with just a couple of housekeeping items. Of course, please state your name when speaking, so those that cannot see you know who you are. If you would like to be recognized by the chair, just speak up. I can't always see the raising of your hands. However, I think KBOR staff monitors that as well. So please raise your hand. If we don't acknowledge you, just speak up and we will acknowledge you. So with that out of the way, we will go ahead with roll call.
Okay, Regent Johnston,
Here.
Regent Amer,
Present.
Regent Mendoza,
Present.
and presenters, we have Jill Arensdorf. Or Barbara Bickelmeyer.
Hi, this is Jean Redeker. Provost Bickelmeyer should join us shortly.
Okay, thank you. And Jesse Mendez.
He just logged in. I don't think he heard his name called yet.
Okay, thank you.
Present.
Thank you. And Sarah Robb.
Present.
And Jen Bonzraki.
Present.
All right. And is Jill Arensdorf on? If not, then that concludes roll.
Thank you, Madeline. All right, I assume that Provost Arnsdorf will join us later. Do we have anybody from Fort Hays?
Yes. Hi, my name is Rob Byer. I'm an assistant professor of philosophy at Fort Hays, and I would be happy to talk about the Bachelor of Religious Education and Community Engagement.
Okay, thank you so much. When we get there, we may, if we may switch the order up just a little bit and see if she gets on, but if not, then we'll certainly have you speak to that
Okay.
request. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the November 19th meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Do we have a second? Diana probably thought I seconded it, which I can. You there, Diana?
I lost her.
All right, I will second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
She must have just lost service for just a bit. All right. The next thing on the agenda is board consent items. And just for clarification, because I need this for myself, thank you, Vice President Monholland. What we're doing is approving those requests that come before us to move to the full board consent agenda. And so first up is the request for approval of a BA in Religious Education and Community Engagement. If Provost Arnsdorf is going to get on a little bit, we may just hold that one and then go to the second one, even though I'm not sure Barbara's on, but Jean, you said you could, do you want to do that one? Request for approval of a BA in BGS and Intelligence and National Security Studies.
Hi, this is Barb Bickelmeyer.
Oh, Barb's on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Provost Bicklemeier.
Thank you, Regent Johnson. In 2020, KU began enrolling students in a minor in intelligence and national security studies. And this semester, we have more than 100 students enrolled in that program. KU is seeking to expand the program to provide a skilled workforce for intelligence agencies and to build on our research capabilities as a U.S. Department of Defense Intelligence Community Center for Academic Excellence. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Mike Wuthrick, who is an associate professor of political science, who will provide an overview of the program and expand on our rationale. So, Professor.
Thank you. Yep. Can I start? Thank you, Provost Bicklemeier, and very happy to be here today and talk about the INSS major proposal. So as Provost Bicklemeier pointed out, stemming back in 2018, University of Kansas was able to receive a grant from the Department of Defense called the Intelligence Intelligence Community Centers for Academic Excellence, and that provided a great deal of funding to set up a program that would fast track professional careers into national security and intelligence at KU. From basically the first moment, we have seen huge demand from our students, from lots and lots of students all over Kansas, but also outside of Kansas. One of the interesting things for me as a person who's done a lot of undergraduate advising is as soon as we started offering this program, even as a 4-course certificate, we had students coming as far as New Jersey wanting to be in the program because the job opportunities within national intelligence and security are so high from this program. So starting from offering the certificate in 2019 and then implementing the minor soon afterwards, we went from 11 minors and a couple certificates right off the bat to, as of this October, so as of about a month and a half ago, we have 134 minors and 23 certificate students. We know there's a huge demand to provide the major. We're able to do that based on the initial setup of the program. We're able to run the essential credentialed course offerings that the Department of Defense wants us to offer. We're able to regularly offer those every semester. And then the Department of Political Science has a great cohort of courses that would be very beneficial to align with the essential courses within the program. So our proposal for the major would be based on students taking one of the introductory courses in political science, either American politics, comparative politics, or international politics. They would take the specially designed course for statistical analysis that we do in political science called Methods of Inquiry. And then they would take the core coursework that's credentialed by the Department of Defense and the ICCAE program. There's 12 credit hours there. Those courses are taught. We've been able to, over the development of the program, we've been able to bring in basically academic practitioners, people who have been in intelligence and security, have worked there for many years. Also, they all have master's degrees or higher. And the courses that they teach are intelligence, supporting national security. That's one of them. U.S. intelligence community, intelligence and analytics, and counterintelligence. Those are the 4 core courses. So they would take 2 intro general polls courses, these 4 core courses, and then we would have the students take 5 additional elective offerings that are offered within the department. These are all courses that are currently offered. In case you're wondering what those would be like, they're courses like extremist groups and government response, U.S. national security policy, transnational terrorism, U.S. foreign policy, Russian foreign policy, Chinese foreign policy, politics of the Middle East, Islam and politics, U.S. counterterrorism and approaches, and introduction to cyber intelligence. Those are just some of the examples of the electives. I don't want to spend too much of your time going through all of that, but that would round out the curriculum. So we have a high demand. We have a lot of students. We know through talking through our existing high number of minors that many of them would transition to major as soon as they could possibly do so, if they're still at KU when that's offered. So so we're excited about this program. The students who go through the credentialed coursework have fairly open access to internships and national security intelligence, particularly those in, the 16 agencies in Washington, D.C. And please don't ask me to name them all right now this morning. But that also opens up opportunities. That's something that KBI has been interested in with our students, Kansas Bureau of Investigation, and other state entities. So students who've wanted internships have been able, basically, they've been able to get those, and it's opened up jobs in national intelligence and security for a lot of our students. So this is why we're proposing the major and very excited about it. And I will leave it up to questions for either me or Provost Bickelmeyer.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive overview. We appreciate it. Do I have any comments or questions from the regents?
Hi, this is Pamela Amar. I just had one question. I actually I noticed that there might be new positions required for the core curriculum, but I also see that there's a surplus, which that's impressive. So is that surplus after you hire these positions, or do you think you'll use the surplus for to pay for the new positions?
Mike, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I can answer that. The plan with the additional fund, like right now, the demand is a little greater than supply, especially for the front end coursework. We've been able to fit them all in, right? But with the surplus funding, we would add additional courses. We have more instructors ready to go. The adjuncts, our practitioners, are ready to teach more of these. So it would be quite easy for us to expand at the appropriate time.
And so that's what, I guess, maybe you answered it. It just wasn't very clear to me. So then you could probably use some of your surplus to pay for those instructors?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Regent Amar. Other questions? Regent Mendoza was having a little trouble with connection. Are you on?
Yes, I'm here now, but I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. My only question, I think you answered, and that was, I noticed that I like the progression. You started out as a certificate, then a minor, and then a major. And so I believe you already answered this. It looks like those that either obtain the certificate or minor can flow right into the major. Even those that have already left, I assume, would be able to count those courses and come back and apply towards the major then.
Correct.
Yes, because the core essential coursework stays the same across each level. So that makes it quite easy and fluid in that regard.
The original grant, is that still being utilized, or has that reached the end of its life that you used to start the certificate program?
Funny things have happened in 2025, right?
Yeah.
Related to the federal government. We were awarded, received the additional grant funding, I believe, in it was either 2023 or 2024. So we were slated there was some language regarding diversity in the ICCAE grant, which caused it to be cut. Ironically, that diversity had to do with the fact that Washington, D.C. doesn't get very many Kansas kids. So the fact that in the Beltway, Kansas counts as kind of a diversity outreach, that stung us a little bit. I don't know how that will be, if we'll be able to get back online or not. I'm hopeful, but we have such strong student demand, and the robust interest enables us to offer all of these courses and what we need in-house, if we needed to.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments regarding this program? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Regent Mendoza and Regent Amar. All those in further discussion, I should do that. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. All right, so I can't see everybody. Is Provost Arnsdorf? All right, there you are. Yes, we'll go back to you. If you want to talk about the request for your BA in Religious Education and Community Engagement, Provost Arnsdorf.
You bet. Thank you, Regent Johnston. My apologies for not getting to my desk right at 10:30.
Oh, no problem.
And thanks for coming back to Fort Hays State University to talk a little bit more about our Bachelor of Arts in Religious Education and Community Engagement. That proposal can be found on page 6 of your BASC agenda. And much like Provost Bickelmeyer, I have colleagues on the call today with me to further explain the program. I will introduce those that I see on the call. I believe our Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Science, David Macy, is here with us. Hello, David. I believe our Chair of History and Philosophy is here with us as well, Paul Niekamp. I believe he does have to leave to go to class, so he may have already logged off. And then we have Dr. Rob Beyer, who is on screen, I see, who is the faculty member who really championed the program development. And I want to cede the floor to Dr. Beyer to give a high-level overview of the program, and then we're happy to collectively answer any questions that you might have as a committee. So Dr. Beyer, take it away.
Thank you, Jill. So the idea for this program and development really came out of data from the RPK report. It was commissioned a couple of years ago by the Board of Regents. One of the targeted areas was this area of Director of Religious Activity and Engagement, or Religious Activity and Education. And so we decided to try to develop a program oriented to that and around that based on that data and information from that report. So this is essentially a kind of interdisciplinary, non-denominational religious worker program. So obviously as a state university, we don't ordain anyone. We don't have any denominational commitments or anything. But we know from talking with individuals from churches and religious organizations in our area that there is a significant need for pastoral workers, religious workers, and this could be people who are ordained or just people that work to provide marketing or other kinds of services for the church or their religious nonprofit. So we developed this course this program to be an interdisciplinary program. It includes a variety of practical skills that our area in philosophy and history don't always teach or don't directly teach. And we think this would be really valuable, partly because of the sort of demonstrated need and interest given the RPK report data, but also because just in talking to students, as you noted from our 2 letters of support, people in other programs have said, we have students that come and ask for something like this, and we just don't have it here. And so we direct them to something else. We also note that we would be able to offer this online and at a much lower cost than private universities in Kansas. Right now, most of the training that is similar to this would be in private religious schools. And as our table shows, our cost is significantly less than that. So we think that this is a sort of a unique area where it just so happens that in our philosophy department, we have a lot of individuals who've studied religious traditions and religion. And so we can offer training in theology and doctrine, exposure in world religion, science and religion, etc. But then we recognize that there are lots of gaps that we don't train people in. And so we've incorporated classes in marketing, in leadership, in sociology that are focused on grant writing, nonprofit organizations and how they function, to really give students a very practical skill set to go out and do this in their communities. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's particularly relevant for us to say. This is not the same as the BA in philosophy that was paused. It's also not the same as a religious studies BA that you might find somewhere like KU or somewhere else in the system. There's a little bit of academic work, but a lot of it is really thinking about practical skills that people could use. I just 2 weeks ago had a conversation with a potential student, and he had heard from somebody at our university that we're trying to get this program through and we want to offer it at some point in the future. And he was particularly interested because he wants to maybe think about going to seminary, becoming a Catholic priest, but he's not sure. And so his priest in consultation said, why don't you, if this gets approved, this is something you could try out, and it would be like a thing where you could see if you really like it, maybe you want to go further, you could. If not, you could still remain engaged in working in your church or in a religious nonprofit with this kind of degree. So I think that's all I have for information, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions or go into more detail.
Thank you, Dr. Byer. Do we have questions, Provost? Well, sorry, Provost. We better go Regents.
Regent Johnston, I might just point out that there are just 2 courses that would have to be developed as part of this. The other coursework is using existing courses and capacity in those courses, both in our online and on campus, modalities. So I just wanted to highlight that as a new program, but not adding significant cost to the university.
Yeah, if I could just build off of that, the other thing to note is we actually are not asking for any additional lines for teaching or anything like that either. So this would just leverage existing resources. It would not cost a lot more. So
I did see that. I see that you've got a little bit of money in there for marketing and then new course development. And other than that, you're using existing faculties, it looks like, and existing courses for the most part. Any comment or questions? Regent Mendoza, Regent Amar?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any either.
Okay. Well, with no questions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
I would second.
All right, so thank you, Regent Mendoza and Regent Amar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And thank you. So that will move the program request to the board consent agenda at the December in-person meeting, which I believe is December when is that? 16th, 15th?
Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Byer. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have on the agenda a request for approval of a BS in diversified agriculture. So, Dr. Mendez.
Thank you, Regent Johnson. It's a pleasure to be before Bosco once again to talk about our request for approval for the BS in diversified ag. And at this point, I'd like to cede the floor to Jonathan Omer, the interim Associate Dean of Academic Affairs in the College of Ag at K-State.
Thank you, Provost Mendez. I'm Jonathan Omer. I am the interim Associate Dean for Academic Programs, College of Agriculture. I'm also a professor of agricultural education, which this degree actually derived out of that department and was part of my role prior to being the interim. It's a pleasure to talk to BASC today about the Bachelors of Science in Diversified Agriculture. This is a program that allows for a broader understanding of agriculture. Students can choose specializations within agriculture, but do receive a foundation in the broad areas, or they can choose classes across the different pathways of agriculture. This is an area we have had many students request and have have had to choose a specific area or chose to go elsewhere within agriculture. This is an area that most land grants across the land grant system have a degree in, and it is something that we've been lacking for many years. This degree includes a focus in ag education and agricultural communications, as well as ag business, business marketing, and leadership. And these were designed to help students move into more managerial and level positions within agricultural industry. This also concludes a new area for agriculture at Kansas State University, and that is ag and occupational safety. We currently have a certificate within that area, a faculty member who was hired to teach that, and we've included that, and actually would be a great connection to the certificate that we have started this past semester. This program will be offered via distance and will be very transfer friendly. We will have talked with several of the community colleges and looked at and are awaiting to do transfer articulation agreements upon approval of the program. We have received internal funding to assist faculty to develop online sections of their classes and for the marketing of this program. This program actually combines predominantly existing coursework into different options for students, only adding a couple of new classes, one of which would be the orientation or introduction course, and one would be a capstone course. This degree is also an integral part of the Garden City Community College and K-State Cooperative Agreement that is developing and that we're working closely with them. At this point, I would yield for questions from the committee.
Thank you so much. Do we have questions? Regent Amar, Regent Mendoza?
Thank you for the presentation. Did I understand you correctly that you have internal funding for the first year where you note a deficit of over 61,000?
So yes, we have internal funding to help with the marketing piece. And then also as we're trying to convert classes that are currently offered on campus, but will be offered via distance. And I'll be completely honest, I struggle with creating those budgets with using predominantly existing faculty. How do we do that? And we also know that we're going to grow this. I would tell you that our advisors have a list of students who are ready to switch to this major. So I believe that our projections of numbers are actually very conservative to where we're going to be, which will impact that. And those projections were done several months ago. So much of this knowledge and the internal funding has come since those were completed and turned in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Regent Mendoza?
No, I don't have any questions. I was present for the when they signed the agreement between Garden City and K-State, and I think this is going to offer a lot of opportunity for students in our part of the state where the diversification would be essential out here. So.
Okay, thank you. I did have one quick question, Provost Mendez. Did this pass unanimously through COCO?
It did, and there was a letter of objection from Fort Hays State, which we've been in communication with Provost Ahrensdorf and talked about some of the concerns of that letter.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? If none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you to all those that presented. And so those 3 program requests will be moved to the full board consent agenda. December 17th, it's right there at the bottom of my notes. So that's when that will happen. All right, we have no discussion agenda items to be moved forward. And so next, I believe Dr. Rob has a TAC report for us.
Good morning, Regents. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sarah Robb. Dr. Robb serves as the Vice President of Student Learning at Neosho County Community College and is also the co-chair of our Transfer and Articulation Council, commonly referred to as TAC. TAC is supported by 2 subcommittees, and for today's presentation, I want to highlight the work of the Quality Assurance Subcommittee, which is responsible for analyzing data on transfer courses, reporting those data findings annually, and overseeing the institutional appeal process for courses included in system-wide transfer. Each year, this subcommittee presents a quality assurance report at the Kansas Core Outcomes Group Conference in October and provides a corresponding update to BASC in December. This is a dedicated and thoughtful group to work with, and I know BASC will be eager to hear the 2025 Quality Assurance Report. With that, it is my pleasure to turn things over to Dr. Robb.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And I believe Madeline was going to share her screen so the PowerPoint slides could be available on screen for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, Madeline. All right, very good. Thank you again for all of you for taking the time during your meeting today to hear from the Transfer and Articulation Council. The work of this council to establish seamless transfer of credits in Kansas is critically important to the success of all students in Kansas. And as I remind my faculty every year, successful students are the reason we all exist. So I really appreciate the time that you're sharing with me today. Some of the slides in the presentation for this information today are for contextual information associated with the Kansas Core Outcomes Group. So I may move through some of the slides relatively quickly, but please don't hesitate to stop me if you have any questions, or of course we can have questions at the end as well. Go ahead to the next slide, Madeline. So as a reminder to everyone, all of the public higher education institutions in Kansas share a common commitment to quality. Each institution assesses, they have programs and established processes in place to assess their courses and programs and all of the learning outcomes for their institution to ensure the quality of student learning. Currently, the Higher Learning Commission is the accrediting body that reviews our institutions to ensure that the criteria for accreditation are met at each college. And in addition to that, many individual programs have specific programmatic accreditation processes to, again, ensure student success as well. Next slide. The Transfer and Articulation Council, the process for system-wide transfer is led by TAC. TAC is responsible for oversight and implementation of the Kansas Board of Regents Transfer and Articulation Policy across the system. Representation on the Transfer and Articulation Council includes all sectors, so both 2- and 4-year institutions are represented, along with the other categories of people listed there on the slide. Members of the Transfer and Articulation Council are nominated by institutions and serve 3-year terms. I've been very pleased to be a part of the Transfer and Articulation Council for several years now personally. Next slide. This is a good opportunity to say thank you to all of the members, our current members of the Transfer and Articulation Council. Those members are listed on the screen. We have a total of 20 institutional representatives who help ensure the goals for the council are successfully carried out. So a huge thank you to all of those members on the slide. Next slide. This next slide outlines the current charges given to TAC. That includes to direct the Kansas Core Outcome Group meetings, to recommend approval on the system-wide transfer of specific courses to the board, to assure quality and adherence to agreed upon learning outcomes of courses articulated across institutions, and to adjudicate any disagreements that may occur from the Kansas Core Outcome Groups. Next slide. So the purpose of the Kansas Core Outcome Group events and those meetings is to allow faculty member experts to articulate the core student learning outcomes for identified courses. There are currently 133 courses included in the system-wide transfer system. And the outcomes developed are reviewed on a 5-year cycle by faculty. Next slide, please. At this point, I'm going to transition to the quality assurance section of the presentation. So go ahead to the next slide, Madeline. Before we get into the data, I do need to provide some context. So this data includes the head count of students who transferred from a Kansas community or technical college to a Kansas public university, focused only on fall semesters. Specifically, new transfer students are defined as students who are entering the receiving university for the first time, are undergraduate degree seeking, and have transferred 9 or more credit hours from another institution. Degree seeking classifications include students who are freshmen through 5th-year students, as well as other non-classified undergraduates determined during the fall semester of entry. The data currently excludes any high school students. That's an important component. Next slide. As shown in this table, there is a significant number of students transferred each fall from a Kansas community or technical college to a Kansas public university. You can see over the last 5 years, the total numbers down at the bottom of that table. So the transfer, go ahead to the next slide. The Transfer and Articulation Council has been monitoring for several years the top majors or program types that new transfer students are engaged in. The next 2 slides after this one, they will present data on the top majors of students who transferred to Kansas universities, Kansas State universities, and the municipal university. Let's go ahead to the next slide. This first slide, this first table focuses on transfers from community colleges. So those 5 years are 6 years, pardon me, are presented there. So these are the top majors or program types from community colleges. So listed there includes liberal arts and sciences, general studies, teacher education, registered nursing, psychology, etc., all the way down to my favorite, biology at the bottom. Next slide highlights transfers from the technical colleges. So those are the program types or majors that are the top of the students transferring from technical colleges. And again, this data, just as a reminder, includes only fall semester enrollments. Next slide. Additionally, TAC also monitors the top courses transferred from a Kansas community or technical college to Kansas municipal and state universities, again, focusing just on fall terms. The source of this data is from the KHEADS Academic Year Collection. It's also available in the Transfer tab in Key Stats on your website. And this is a good opportunity also to give a quick shout out to the people, the KBOR staff in data research and planning. That unit of KBOR supports the work of TAC in providing this data. And I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to that group of people. Again, they support TAC to continue to meet its mission. And so I appreciate them very much. Let's move to the next slide. This table that's presented here gives the top courses transferred since 2019. So you can see English Composition 1 and 2, Introduction to Psychology, College Algebra, Public Speaking, Gen Bio and Lab, Introduction to Sociology, Computer Concepts, Developmental Psych, and Chem 1 and Lab. Those are the top courses since 2019 that have transferred. A few things to note on this slide. Just as a reminder, this data does exclude high school students. So while high school students represent a large growth of enrollment at community and technical colleges, those hours are excluded from this chart. There's also been a shift into technical education, which also may have played a role in the negative change in these hours over these years. And lastly, also during this time, we have standardized through the work of KBOR, the AP and IB scores during this time frame, which may have also played a role in the decline of these hours. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. As we look at the upcoming slides, you're going to see a series of charts, this is called a sequence comparison report. Before reviewing the data, I need to provide to you some context. The data is collected every year through the KHEDS academic year collection. We use institutional level course and program inventory and the KRSN articulation maintenance tool. This data is compiled again by DRP using system-wide transfer sequences that are determined by TAC. While the KHEDS registration files does record outcomes including incomplete, in progress, and the standard letter grades such as A, B, C, D, and F, also pass or no pass for pass-fail classes. Only the A, B, C, D, and F grades can be used to calculate the GPA. For the following charts, the first of the sequence is the last time a student took the course, whereas the second part of the sequence is the first time the student took the course. And on the charts, you'll see there'll be a label, but non-transfer students are those who took both parts of the sequence at the university or receiving institution. And the transfer students are those who took the first part of the sequence at one institution, like a community or a technical college, and the second at another, at the state or municipal university, state university or municipal university. So I'll review that again. If we move to the next slide, the first sequence comparison. This shows you several years worth of data for English Comp 1 to English Comp 2. So again, the non-transfer students are in the blue column, whereas that golden color represents the system college transfer students. So non-transfer students, again, are those students that took both courses at the receiving institution or the state municipal university, whereas the golden color indicates students who took the second course in the sequence at the university, but the first at a community or a technical college. So what we're looking at there is the GPA comparison for those students, and over the course of those years, you can see that comparison. Let's move on to the next comparison. Next slide. We're going to be looking at college algebra to business calc. Again, the same number of years and the same comparison. As you can see, and you also have the ends listed there in each of the columns. As you can see, the GPA comparison are relatively standard across these years, oftentimes equal to or greater than or close to the GPAs from the non-transfer students. The next review is Chemistry 1 to Chemistry 2. That's Chemistry 1 and Lab for majors to Chemistry 2 and Lab for majors. On this one, I would just like to note for your attention purposes to identify the sample size differences in the chart. Look at the N in the golden columns compared to those in the blue. There's a lot lower number of students who take the second of this sequence. Many of the students take these courses at the same institution. So if they take Chemistry 1 at a community or technical college, often they're taking Chemistry 2 at that same institution. So there's fewer students who split the sequence in Chem 1 and Chem 2. Move on to the next slide. This is the intro to psych or general psych to human lifespan or developmental psych. Again, we have several years worth of this data. And then to the next slide, we're looking at something new. So the next 4 slides indicate new sequence comparisons that were requested by members of the Transfer and Articulation Council. So these have been included for the first time this year. Therefore, only 3 years of data are presented. For these new comparisons, it's very important to interpret the results with caution because of the same situation, that sample size difference. Many of these courses, again, are taken consecutively from one semester to the next at the same institution. So Biology 1 and Lab for majors to Biology 2 is presented here for you. And then on the next slide, again, we're using Biology 1 and Lab for majors, but then comparing it to Anatomy and Physiology and Lab. Again, a new request from TAC this year, so only 3 years worth of data. The next one is Physics 1. Let's move to the next slide, please. Physics 1 and lab to Physics 2. Again, please note the very low number of students in that second golden column. Again, those are the low number of students represented by students who've taken Physics 1 and lab at a community or a technical college and transferred to a university for the second in the sequence. And lastly, engineering physics 1 to 2. Very small numbers there. And if you move to the next slide. The last two slides of this presentation were specific to the KCOG meeting that occurred in October. So at this point, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for listening and for your time. And I will do my best to attempt answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Robb. Excellent presentation. We appreciate it. I personally, of course, was part of TAC for years and still am, and appreciate all the work that faculty from university and the community and technical colleges put into this. I think it's been very, very beneficial for students over the years to give us a more seamless way to transfer courses. So I do appreciate that. And I appreciate the data because I think that that does paint a picture for us, especially that data that goes back so far in terms of it does work. It is kind of striking to see that those that take, especially when we talk about chemistry and physics, those that take the first course at a community college do have a lot more trouble. I mean, I know that we've talked about that in TAC, and so maybe something that, we can address, even though there's small numbers, of course, typically there's smaller numbers in all of the different courses that we're looking at because, of course, what happens is that at the community colleges, those people that are going to drop out have already dropped out before they transfer. So that can be some of the discrepancy when you look at GPAs. Do we have comments or questions, Regents? Or Diana? Not Diana, I'm sorry, for Sarah.
I don't have any.
Neither do I. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the work that's done by your group. So thank you, Dr. Robb. Appreciate it. All right. We will move on to the next agenda item. I've got to get back up to the top of my... There we go. So next we have the KU Program Review 2024 follow-up. Provost Bickelmeyer.
Ashley, Regent Johnston, if it's acceptable to you all, I'm going to kind of combine the 24 and the 25 follow-up because they inform each other. And to remind you, on the 24 follow-up, I'll share with you metrics and action plan updates, what we're working on. But it ties to the 2025 follow-up came from after the May 14th BASC meeting, or during the May 14th BASC meeting, when we were presenting our academic program review updates. At that point in time, we were asked to consider opportunities for potential mergers and reorganizations to create academic and administrative efficiencies or research efficiencies and synergies. And then also to look at what we could do to increase enrollments for master's and doctoral programs. So I'm going to be just kind of giving you numbers updates. Then I'm going to be talking about what we're doing related to mergers and acquisition or possible mergers of departments and programs. And then talk about updates on graduate enrollment plans and what we're doing to address that in a couple areas. I'm going to hold the mergers part actually until after I do the updates, because I think when you see the updates on the data and what we're doing at the graduate level, that will inform when I talk to you about mergers and what we're doing in particular areas there. So Jean Redeker is navigating the slides for me. If you can skip this, Jean, and go, here's where we want to start. So I just want to start by talking about the movement, and you'll see in these columns the program, the number of metrics that were met in 2024, any improvements in 2025, and what action plans we've been taking, or what actions we've been taking, and what the updates are on that. And again, where you see merger under discussion, I'll talk more about that at the end. But we start with the BA, BFA, and BM in music. And you'll notice we, in the last year, we've moved on from 2 to 3 metrics at this point. And the fourth metric, the talent pipeline is also trending upward. We're at 48.61% in 2025. We're also doing some things both in recruiting into that program, but also just streamlining the major itself. So we're feeling pretty good about the trajectory of that program. And, you know, with a 1.4% change, we would be meeting 4 metrics. So we'll be continuing to monitor that and report more on that to you in our next report. On the BA and BGS and African American Studies, we're meeting 1 metric in 2024. We're meeting 2 metrics in 2025. I'll be talking to you about what we're doing to merge that actually with the program below. But we are now meeting talent pipeline minima. We're working on first year and transfer student seminars to make people more aware of what that major is all about. I think there's some lack of clarity in our communications about the major and what the possible opportunities are for such majors. And then we're working on a learning community to be able to bring students together to understand the research and the opportunities and possibilities that are there. On the BA BGS in American Studies, we're still at meeting 2 of the 4 metrics. Again, I'll talk about that related to merger. That faculty is working on updating their curriculum and facilitating double majors because there's lots of opportunities to partner an American Studies major with any professional school, as well as other College of Liberal Arts and Sciences majors. And again, increasing really our recruitment into the program. Next slide. On the BA in Jewish Studies, we were meeting 1 metric in 2024. We're meeting actually 0 metrics in 2025. I'll be talking to you about a merger that is significant of BA in Jewish Studies and again tied to the degree of the program below. But there's several things that we're doing in this area. And some of those things are updating the curriculum and making changes that make that curriculum tighter for students to make their way through and eliminating barriers to completion. We're targeting marketing campaign to communities who'd be interested in the program, particularly Jewish day schools. And we are engaged in more career center events and mapping career pathways for students who receive or earn a Bachelor of Arts in Jewish Studies. For the BA and BGS in Religious Studies, we also went down from meeting 2 metrics to only meeting 1 metric in 2025. Then again, I'll come back and talk to you about a merger we're engaged in there. Creation of new scholarships is going on there, and there's some donor interest in supporting scholarships to aid recruitment into that particular program. And again, doing some work to create career pathways and internship opportunities and scholarships for that and help students understand what careers are available. Not dissimilar to some of what you heard that Fort Hays State is doing based on the RPK data in their new program. And then working on the actual instructional experience to make sure it's highly engaging, and doing some things with new experiential learning courses and capstone projects to help students be able to take what they're learning in their courses and apply it to community and service. The BA, BGS, and BS in Geography kind of held steady with meeting 2 metrics. I'll be talking about a merger of that particular degree and program and department with a couple of other units. But we are seeing student demand and degree production metrics trending upward as we're better telling the story about what you can do and what jobs you can get when you major in geography. And then there's been a curriculum redesign that will be rolling out in fall of 2026 that again will eliminate some barriers and tighten the curriculum and just kind of do the work of the degree pathways efforts and initiatives that we've been engaging with through KBOR over the last year as well. Next slide, Jean. And then finally, to talk about the BA and BS in astronomy. Excuse me. You'll see in this case, we were meeting 0 metrics on the BA and BS in astronomy. Now we're meeting 1. I want to treat this one a little bit differently because as I have passionately stated in previous meetings about program review, one of the things that we try to reconcile at the University of Kansas is programs that we have and departments that we have that meet a research mission and how we tie the research mission to the academic mission. Our astronomy program is federally recognized. In fact, we were visited by Dr. Jennifer Lotz, who is the director of the Space Telescope Science Institute, in late August. We do a lot of work in this program, primarily at the graduate level. We also have a fair number of students who might minor and who do general ed work. But we do a fair amount of research, and our work and our research particularly focuses on the use of time on the James Webb Space, the Science Telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, and preparing that agency for research initiatives on the upcoming Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope. And generally what we're doing there is disproportional to other universities. And so one of the things I just want to emphasize here is that the Department of Astronomy and the work of the faculty in astronomy is disproportionately focused on federal research and research support for our space programs. We are, though, now meeting our student demand metric. That is the one that we're meeting. We are, again, doing some work. We're stronger, much stronger at the graduate level than we are at the undergraduate level in this program. We're trying to tell the story of students about why they might want to be interested in astronomy at the bachelor's level. And so our degree production and talent pipeline are trending upward. We've improved the major retention, as you might imagine. Astronomy is not a particularly easy program to major in. There's a lot of science and a lot of math. So helping to improve retention there is key as well. And so we've been working on that. And then finding opportunities with alumni to create collaborations with their organizations where we can get opportunities for students to intern and see career opportunities. And then again, working on doing that work to understand career plans with students. And we are engaged. We've been building a survey for that, and we will be rolling that out in the spring to better understand student career experiences. So next slide. So that's kind of undergraduate, generally the report out, and then I'll come back and talk about the mergers tied to those low enrolled programs that you saw the merger line in a minute. You also asked us in the May meeting if we would provide some information on steps that are being taken to increase the enrollments for master's and doctoral programs that are not meeting minima. So just to let you know on those programs, again, those were specifically environmental and water resources science PhD and environmental and water resources engineering PhD. We've engaged in a merger of those two programs that's been supported by faculty that will roll out with the fall 2026 academic cycle. So we're moving in that direction. And then the environment and water resources science master's degree with the environment and water resources engineering master's degree, same thing. We merged those programs. It's been approved by or supported by Faculty Senate, and we'll be rolling all that out with the fall 2026 academic cycle. And then finally, the social and philosophical foundations of education, Master of Science and Education degree. We have an action plan for that to increase enrollment and degree completion. That's what we were going to do. Since then, the program has actually requested discontinuance, and that is slated for Faculty Senate to be reviewing that discontinuance. And again, assuming we'll discontinue that program, we'll have a teach out phase for the students who are in that program. To go a little bit further in terms of graduate action plan updates, Jean, next slide. We are working on, at the master's level, a Master of Arts, the African American Studies. That will be addressed as part of the merger discussion. we had talked about pursuing a accelerated bachelor's into a master's or an online MA. We're not going to pursue those options. So it's something we previously reported we will not be doing. The Classics MA, we've recruited a couple of additional students, which actually gets us to a total of 12 majors for our fall 2025. So right now we're kind of sitting where we need to be in that program. But to go further, we continue to work on refreshing the curriculum of that program, adding some new course options and some greater flexibility for majors. And those will go into effect in fall 2026. And there's a faculty retreat. They've been working in conversations, but to do some formal implementation work, they're going to be having a January fall retreat to discuss the modification of their admissions and graduation requirements, and working on an accelerated bachelor's and master's option for that program as well. East Asian Languages and Cultures, Masters of Arts. We've been doing a lot to promote and publicize this program to 67 Midwest universities and making contacts with faculty. Again, the East Asian Languages and Cultures program is tied to our historical strength and Title VI funding from the federal government in an East Asian Studies Center. And so we continue to have very strong research there and very strong study abroad tied to East Asia and a lot of international and global relations that actually come about in other kinds of research areas, but people need the language skills to facilitate those research and those other programmatic initiatives. Even to give an example, our music program and our bands recently were over the summer traveled to the World's Fair that was hosted in Japan, and in part in connections that we have with the East Asian Languages and Cultures program. But again, we continue to do the work to create the synergies there, to promote the program, because there are relatively few programs in East Asian Languages and Cultures in the Midwest. And then finally, the MA in Film and Media Studies. Some of what we're doing there is strengthening the engagement experiences and the high impact practices in the curriculum, and then refining the curriculum to help students feel fewer barriers and it's less onerous to get through that experience. And then to have a portfolio that they can provide that can help them to have opportunities to get good jobs and pursue their career options after they graduate from the program. So we're working through that as well. And then finally, on this, on graduate level enrollment, just more generally, we've been engaging over the last really year, but in earnest in the last number of months to look at how we do graduate enrollment management. That's always generally been left historically to the academic units themselves. We're moving to more centralize and support and facilitate graduate enrollment. Generally, graduate enrollments kind of happen based on somebody who wants to get a master's or a PhD in astronomy is going to look for astronomy for example. They're not necessarily going to go look at the School of Business, but there are opportunities for us to do a much better job at the university level of addressing those opportunities. So we have created a dedicated recruitment team for graduate enrollment that's working closely with the programs to develop strategies to meet new student enrollment targets that we've set for the graduate programs. We're providing very quick, direct inquiry support for fully online and satellite campus programs when a student, when we see them hit a website, to immediately give them some response so that we're not waiting and not knowing necessarily when a program will get back to them. And then sharing some best practices and expertise across all graduate programs based on what we know from ACRO and from other national groups that are dedicated to enrollment management and recruitment so that we can better enhance outreach across all the schools and departments at the university. And then finally, we're engaged in some integrated marketing and communication. We have been doing quite a bit of work over the last 18 months in our strategic communications office, as well as our enrollment management office, to better tell our story and better integrate our marketing and communications across the entire institution, and particularly at the graduate level, so that we can deliver program-specific messaging that complements recruitment efforts and ensuring consistent and targeted outreach. So with that, I think that's the last slide I have there, Jean, that goes through that materials. I'm not going to show slides on the program mergers because we're working through the faculty departments and the shared governance processes for that. But I do want to give you some updates. This has been significant and earnest work on the part of the dean and the associate deans in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences particularly. And just to let you know what my ask was based on the May 14th meeting, I sent a letter to the college dean and associate deans and said my specific ask is that you begin work in the college to explore academic or administrative efficiencies or research synergies that can be created for low enrolled programs and small academic units through mergers and reorganizations, and provide me a report by November 24th so I can adequately prepare to make this presentation at the December BASC meeting. So the college dean and associate deans have been engaged in conversations really since May with key departments, and those departments include geology, geography and atmospheric science, environmental studies, African and African American studies, American studies, religious studies, Jewish studies, global and international studies, French, Francophone and Italian studies, Spanish and Portuguese, Slavic, German and Eurasian studies, and East Asian languages and cultures, and the classics. And they've engaged those departments and provided them with data on those units, academic efficiencies and administrative efficiencies, research productivity, enrollment sizes and class sizes, and looked at budgets. 3 particular mergers with some subcategories are coming out of that. And again, I'm giving you a progress update because they are in review with their department faculties and then moving to the university or university senate as appropriate. The first cluster that we're working on in mergers is 3 departments, which include environmental studies, geography and atmospheric science, and geology. Those actually are programs that have robust student credit hours and significant general education programs, as well as strong research. Environmental studies generally deals with is an interdisciplinary program that brings faculty together from professional schools, natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities to explore things like soil and water sampling, policy making, and social science for environmental phenomena. The Department of Geography and Atmospheric Science really is basically studying how weather and climate affect human activity and life on Earth, and doing that work generally regionally in the Midwest and the Heartland. And then the Department of Geology includes researchers with expertise across geosciences and works with the Kansas Geological Survey, the School of Engineering, and the KU Biodiversity Institute and the Natural History Museum to cover a whole bunch of degrees, undergraduate and graduate, like geochemistry, geochronology, hydrogeology, paleontology, sedimentology, tectonics, energy, and energy resilience. And students and faculty in geology work closely with the U.S. Geological Survey and the Department of Energy and the National Science Foundation and the Department of Agriculture. Long story short, they've been working together, and we are working on forming a single school, which is like a super department of Earth, Energy, and Environment that will be housed within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and will be able to dissolve the formal institutional departments and program boundaries around those 3 units, and more synergistically combine robust disciplinary, scientific, technical, policy, and humanistic approaches into a single interdisciplinary unit. It'll have a single director reporting to the college's dean, and appropriate slate of the internal offices to manage the internal workings. To be clear, we're not changing the majors. We're changing the administrative functions, and we're giving more opportunities for efficiency in administrative functions, but more opportunities for interdisciplinary connections between those historical units that focus on land, air, and energy. So really pretty excited about that. The process to date has involved dozens and dozens of meetings with those units specifically and across those units. And the current status is that we're going through the appropriate department votes and reviews. And right now, the within unit faculty votes are taking place, and or some might be happening right at the beginning of the spring semester. But we are on track to create that school and create a much tighter administrative structure while getting more interdisciplinary opportunities. So that's cluster one that we're working on in mergers. Cluster two that we've been looking at is languages. And that is, again, French, Francophone, and Italian studies, East Asian languages and cultures, Slavic, German, and Eurasian studies, and Spanish and Portuguese, and classics. One important thing to note in looking at languages is languages like cultures have distinct languages and distinct cultures, and they are distinct regions of the world in many cases. So one of the challenges in talking with those folks and thinking about creating something like a language and culture department is concerns about losing those distinctions. So where we are going at this point in time is we're starting with French, Francophone, and Italian, and Spanish and Portuguese, and looking at creating a single department of Romance languages. But we're continuing to build that as the solid base, and then looking at what we can continue to add to that. One key thing is, and I bring this up to the regents on Basque and to the board, is that a concern that the faculty has is to be able to consider merged programs but retain their named independent degrees. So while you could have a department of languages and cultures or Romance languages, to still be able to have the degree that is a Bachelor's of Arts in Spanish and not have a generic degree, because it is important to not lose that distinction for students who go out and, for example, want to be a translator in Spanish. So we're working through some of that, but we're moving with that initial Department of Romance languages and looking at what languages and cultures we can add beyond that. So making progress in that regard. And then finally, the third cluster, where we have the lowest, where we've had some of our low enrolled programs that we talked about, includes conversation that we've had with Jewish studies, religious studies, American studies, African American studies, and global and international studies. And this is really talking about mergers of a bachelor's degree and making sure that we're doing our work there. Just to be clear, on this, again, you have distinct cultures and beliefs that are part of these particular programs. Jewish studies educate students in religion, history, and politics and culture. And other aspects of Jewish studies, they've historically had very strong general education enrollments and course-based enrollments and minors and opportunities for some undergraduate majors and dual degrees, but they haven't had the numbers we want, as we know, on undergraduate majors. With religious studies, that program educates students in religious traditions, including Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, and Native American religions, as well as related topics such as religious ethics and religion in American society, and works at the undergraduate level. And then American Studies educates students in socially and culturally informed ways about various aspects of American history and culture, including relationships between the U.S. and other countries and their languages and people. And then African and African American Studies focuses on the African diaspora, and that includes attention to the Middle East, Europe, and Caribbean and Latin America, as well as the African American experience. So as we've talked to those faculty, and again, there have been robust conversations about how they might work together administratively and opportunities for programming. I'll just generally boil that down to say there's two clusters that have come from in merger ideas there that we're working through with faculty. And one is to bring cluster, what I'll call cluster 3A, is to bring together Jewish studies, religious studies, and the global and international studies major into a program that's something like global cultures. as the title that our faculty are working through on that one. And be able to have concentrations out of that global cultures major in Jewish studies, religious studies, and GIST. And then our second cluster that we're looking at for a merger is African studies and African American studies, and a major in the college that's liberal arts and sciences. And that brings together a mix of natural sciences, math, social sciences, and humanities, so that we can again have a focus of a kind of solid degree of liberal arts and sciences with majors and concentrations as we need there. And again, we get some significant administrative efficiencies, just as we did in the School of Earth, Energy, and Environment, while also giving more opportunities for interdisciplinary connections in those programs. So just in conclusion, as we're working through these three different clusters of mergers, what we are focusing on is administrative efficiencies and cost savings. Particularly as multiple departments merge, finding the opportunities for consolidation and replacing chairs, for example, and direct administrative salary savings, as well as other operating expenses and supplies. Enhancing, so number one thing, administrative efficiencies, cost savings. Number two, enhanced academic opportunities by creating more interdisciplinarity and being able to give students more choice in courses that they provide to their program and majors. And then addressing some of the leadership challenges we have when we have very small units. It's sometimes hard to find people who want to serve as a chair or director of those small units. So mergers into larger, more robust units expand the pool of potential leaders and reduce the chronic leadership challenge we have. So for our process and next steps, the merger conversations that I've outlined here in this report are continuing through the early spring semester. We'll be able to have more formal reporting, but we are working closely with unit leadership and faculty throughout these discussions as their input continues to shape the opportunities for refreshing curriculum. And we remain committed to that consultative approach to do this work and work with Faculty Senate and faculty governance through using our processes to vet these. But we are in process. And as I mentioned, some of these will be rolling out in fall of 2026, and some of them will take a little bit more time than that. So that was a whole lot that I gave you, and I am ready to stop and stand for any questions.
Thank you, Provost Bickmeyer. I like the presentation, and it's encouraging, I think, to see the work that's been done based on those program review metrics in terms of what can you do for mergers, synergy, like you said, efficiencies. I particularly like the fact that, you know, the efficiencies saved at the administrative level are still not diluting the distinct nature of those individual programs. And I think that's great. I think that what we'll be doing through that and is, like you said, providing more opportunity through interdisciplinary studies, but at the same time, saving money and hopefully passing that savings along to students. And so I greatly appreciate the work that you all have done, all the universities, as you've moved forward in this program review process. I know it's been a very heavy lift, but like I said, it's rewarding to see that you're using those metrics to be able to make these types of determinations, and it's appreciated. I also like the format that you gave, so thank you so much.
Thank you. If I could just ask for one confirmation, I have to believe you're comfortable with this, but just to validate this and be able to give it back to the faculty, I assume you are willing and comfortable with the fact that while we merge departments, we do not necessarily have to consolidate the names of independent degrees. So for example, as we move to Romance languages or languages and cultures, that doesn't mean we have to change the Bachelor of Arts in Spanish to Bachelor of Arts in Romance languages, or a general degree in a Bachelor of Arts in languages and cultures, correct? Because there's SIP codes for that, there's federal reporting for that. The clarity of those degrees allows students to be much more targeted when they go for jobs, whether they're translation or in NGOs or other places. So I just want to affirm you're okay with that.
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, and so then I'll let the other regents speak. To me, that's exactly right, because you have a lot of departments that have different zip codes within that department, and I think that that type of distinction is very, very important for those students. And so for me, yes, that's what I believe. But like I said, that's just on my behalf. Regent Amar, Regent Mendoza.
Yes, this is Pamela Amar. I think that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. And I see no reason to change the name.
Okay, great. Thank you. Regent Mendoza?
Yes, I would agree with that as well. I think it's important to understand that there's distinction between the different languages and the different cultures. So I mean, I want to also echo what Regent Johnson said. I really appreciate all the detail in your report. I can tell there's been a tremendous amount of work put into this, and I just really appreciate it. And I think it's coming together beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was a consolidation of 17 solid pages. So
yeah, it was a lot, but it was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, like I said, greatly appreciated, and it's nice to see that program review is kind of shaping up and giving us some real data that we can make decisions on. So thank you so much. Next, we have academic affairs updates. VP Monholland, is that you?
Yes. I don't have any updates from the academic affairs unit today. Should have some at the December 17th meeting. So we'll talk again about those updates then.
Thank you. Any other business to come before BAS today? If none, our next meeting is December the 17th in Topeka in person. And of course, there will also be a live stream and a Zoom available for that. And so I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye, we are adjourned. We hope to see you all on the 17th. Thank you.
Thank you.